there, folks. It's been a while, hasn't it? Well, circumstances kind of kept me from continuing the answers video. Mostly me crippling my back for a while on a Swiss exercise ball, but now I'm back and we're ready to get on with it. Also, the audio should be better in this one because I'm clearly doing this indoors this time, so you won't have to worry about the wind buzzing the mic. I actually would like to get a wireless lapel system, but you know, I can't find an affordable one just yet. Maybe next time I go to a Guitar Center I can find one. But anyway, our next question comes from Sergeant Dan 3, who asks, "Can I have your babies, Lethal?" "No. You get your own. I'm gonna eat these." Our next question comes from Diabetic Necromancer. I think that's my second user. You know I'm a software engineer, so the first thing I call people are users. But anyway, that's my second viewer that is diabetic. At least I can find out from their username. So Diabetic Necromancer asks, "Will you play any Elder Scrolls game in live streams? I would love to see Lethal Skull Punch running around Tamriel." Well, I've already played through Oblivion. I bought Oblivion and a few other people got me the DLCs to those, and we played all the way through them. We even went through the Shivering Isles. It wasn't an unarmed character, it was a conjuring archer who had a little bit of alteration in there, but we did do it. Now, will I do it again? Probably not Oblivion. I don't have much experience with Morrowind, and Skyrim's just too damn easy. So, I don't really have a definitive answer for you. If you want to go see me, if you want to go watch me play through Oblivion though, it's up on the channel. Just look through my playlist, you'll find it right there. And our next question comes from long-time viewer, Unwary Rinse, who asks, "Bacon?" Yes, please. If you're making it. I love me some bacon. Alright, and our next question comes from Codraven 1728, who asks, "Are you going to do more Fort Zombie? Maybe a rifle run or something like that?" Well, I'll almost definitely do more Fort Zombie in the future. I'm trying to get a lot of other things out of the way, like I'm doing Splinter Cell right now. I want to get through all that series and additionally do Blacklist when it comes out next month. It's going to be a rush to do it. I need to get my ass in gear still. But I assure you that we will do more Fort Zombie. There may be a gimmick to it. I may do a pea shooter run. You know that first 38 you get out of the first place you search, essentially? It shoots the 38 fed. I will go through the whole game with just that. And maybe not even have any, I may not bring any survivors along with me. It'll just be me and my little friend. So do look forward to more Fort Zombie. Our next question comes from Ignacio Hara, who asks, "Why don't you play Marshwa 4? Well, there's a very good answer behind that, and you're going to have to forgive me because I'm going to go on my rant on this. I'm actually really pissed off about the situation because whenever you buy a game, you should be able to play the goddamn thing. But it's not, well, I can play it. I just can't install it on my new system, you know, desktop back here. I can play it on my laptop just fine. It doesn't run perfectly, which is why I'd actually like to run on this, because I'm sure that this beast would run it completely lag-free and give me a better experience and give you a better experience because I'll be delivering better commentary instead of getting pissed off at a little bits of slowdown. But anyway, the reason I can't install it on this thing is because the people at GameFly are fucking retarded. That's simply how it is. In December 2011, GameFly acquired a company by the name of Direct2Drive. Direct2Drive is who I purchased SWAT 4 from. And that was all well and good. Actually, initially when they, acquired Direct2Drive, I could actually download an installer and install the game. No problem at all. It's because whenever you installed the game, it would activate using the Direct2Drive activation servers. And I don't like DRM, but that's how it was. It worked. So what happened, in their infinite wisdom, the management of GameFly decided, you know what, we don't have a system in place to activate these users' games. We need to get our DRM in there, but in the meantime, let's shut down the Direct2Drive activation server. Because who needs to fucking install this game, Those people we want money from, we'd like them to buy some games from us. That will make them want to buy games from us by not letting them play games that they already fucking own. I don't know. They already had a server that did this. Why the fuck did they shut down? The only answer is because they're fucking stupid. Or that they're mentally defective. I don't know, folks. But that's why I haven't started playing SWAT 4. As of today, I checked Gamefly, they still don't have it. It's almost been 2 years since they acquired Direct to Drive, but I still cannot install a game I paid for. Fuck Gamefly. I'll probably get on with it now because I do have a new capture card that will allow me to record gameplay from another machine, like my laptop. So now that I won't be using fraps, I shouldn't have as much slowdown. But that'll probably be in the coming months, probably after I get done with Splinter Cell. Ugh. I'm so exhausted from that fucking race. That's why I usually don't get pissed off, because it just tires me out. Anyway, our next question comes from Calvin Murray. He asks, is it just me, or do you exude awesomeness? It's not just you. I too exude awesomeness from time to time. The doctor says it's perfectly natural and nothing to worry about, so keep that in mind. Let's see, and our next question comes from Gage Clark. Tell us, what does beauty feel like? Does it taste like kittens? You guys, I swear. But anyway, everyone's so bashful. It makes me feel sad. And does it taste like kittens? Well, I'm not sure, but I'm sure that if I ate kittens, I'd be pretty sad too. So I'm sure it's fairly similar. Alright, we have our next question. I'm getting tongue-tied already. Our next question comes from Z-Striker. He asks, which series did you enjoy doing the most? I've answered this question before, of course. It's I Am Corporal Kane and UT with Rimeth. Alright, now we have a bunch of questions from another LPer that I enjoy very much, and you've heard his name before in this Q&A session. His name is Effing Controller. I've been looking forward to these questions quite a bit, my friend. What is your first video game related memory? Well, that would either be Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt for the Nintendo Entertainment System, or it would be Designsaurus 2 for DOS. And I'm not exactly sure which one was which. My mom was addicted to Super Mario Brothers when I was a kid, even though she couldn't beat it because she just stinks at video games. But I don't. And as far as Designsaurus 2, they had it over at my daycare center, and apparently I also had computer classes over there. I don't remember the computer classes, but sure as hell I remember Designsaurus. Not its name initially, but I remember the gameplay. Alright, his next question is, what is your favorite word? Well, some of you can probably guess this one. It'd be majestic. And it's mostly because whenever I think of majestic, I can think of this immensely powerful animal surveying its domain. You know? And that just is awesome. And if I had to have a runner-up for my favorite word ever, it'd probably be bastard, because it's a word that has something to prove, you know? It wasn't born with a silver spoon in its mouth. It has to prove itself. And it does. It's such a bastard of a word. Also, I have always had an affinity for the bastard sword. It's just so majestic. His next question is, have you ever eaten Rocky Mountain oysters? Now, for many of you, you may not know what a Rocky Mountain oyster is. It is deep-fried bull testicles. You probably think I'm full of shit. That is what it is. And no, effing controller, I have not eaten Rocky Mountain oysters. I have no inclination to eat testicles of any variety from any animal prepared in any fashion. Forgive me. On a related note, I also don't care for conventional oysters of any preparedness as well. And if they're raw, fried, or otherwise, they just have a terrible taste to me. I don't know why. It's one of the few foods I actually don't like. I don't know if... I have no idea if Rocky Mountain oysters taste similar to regular oysters. Maybe that's why they have the name, or maybe it's the consistency. I have no idea. Because oysters, of course, are usually referred to as like edible snot. Anywho, effing controller's next question of 7, I believe, is who wins the fight, Alex Trebek or Pat Sajak from the Wheel of Fortune? Well, Pat is definitely in better shape, that's for sure. I think Alex has had several heart conditions. But you know, he's a wily one, that Alex Trebek. I'd actually have to put my money on Alex, because I'm sure he probably has a question that has been banned from Jeopardy because it caused aneurysms in focus groups. That's what I'm gonna, if I was betting on it, that's what I'd be going with. I'm sure he has some kind of trick up his sleeve, that Alex. He's a wily one. Alright, now I am just going back and forth through this nook when I'm doing all my motions and I'm getting mixed up. Anyway, his next question is, why do you make LPs and what motivates you to be so active in the LPing community? Well, what motivates me to make LPs is very simple. I just want to have fun, and then maybe show you guys an awesome game played in an awesome way. It's that simple. A lot of people engage in this hobby to get rich quick or to get famous. I don't give a shit about that. I just want to have fun. And if I can show you an amazing game that you may have not seen or played, like SWAT 4, I mean, a lot of people have seen that game. They haven't seen it played decently. And I think I brought that to the table. And then, of course, I played Fort Zombie with just a crowbar. I played I Am Corporal Kane while role-playing on its hardest difficulty while Iron Manning it. Not many people have done that, right? And, I mean, I had fun doing those things. That's all that motivates me. As far as being active in the LPing community, effing's referring to my, the little bit of stuff I do on Voltron Army and on the Let's Play Reddit of Reddit. I should say subreddit of Reddit, but either way, I'd actually like to spread my way of doing Let's Plays. Like I said before, a lot of people do this hobby to get rich and whatnot. There's so much emphasis on monetization and whatnot, and I mean, I want to see, those are not the LPs I want to see personally. I want to see people having fun playing video games, you know? I don't want to see a documentary. I don't want to see people, you know, having a fake facade when they play Let's Plays. I want to just see someone who honestly has fun playing the game, if they loved it as a child, or if they even love it as the person they are now. Just as long as they have fun doing it, and they're doing it just to have fun. I'd like to emphasize more of that way of the Let's Play, the lethal way of the Let's Play. At least that's what I like to think, why I'm so active in the community. Is it working? Probably not. Oh well, you know. And his next question is, what frustrates you most about making videos? It's how much I suck. Whether it's at speaking or playing the game. That's what pisses me off. I'm like, damn it, play the game better and learn the goddamn breathe. It's not that fucking hard. But I won't. And the funny thing is, the more frustrated I get, the worse I do, so. I'm trying to think of a recent example. A lot of the recent SWAT 4s, they're not exactly recent now, but a lot of them that way. I'm all, you know what, my commentary just wasn't that good. When I'm watching through the video again, I do that from time to time. And go, you know what, I can do better. And I try. And sometimes I get pissed off, but you know what, I keep trying. So that's what frustrates me the most. It's because I suck. Alright, your next question, effing, is, if you were a hot dog and you were starving, would you eat yourself? Is this some kind of new age Zen question, effing? I honestly don't think I have enough information to give you a definitive answer, because what is the physiology of this hypothetical hot dog me, you know? I clearly have a GI tract, otherwise you wouldn't be asking the question at all, right? I can't eat myself if I don't have a mouth and an esophagus and everything else down there. So what other faculties does this hypothetical hot dog me have? Do I have a circulation system? Do I have a nervous system? I mean, that's important information. Am I going to bleed if I bite myself? Am I going to feel pain? These are important concerns. Also, what does the hypothetical hot dog me have to live for? Do I have a hot, sexy hot dog wife with buns that won't quit? Do I have a cute little hot dog daughter who just wants to have a tea party with her dad before I start starving to death, I assume in some kind of secluded cave or something, you know? You don't have too many instances to do that, my friend. She's gonna grow up someday and all she's gonna be thinking about is footlongs. You won't have any time to have a tea party with her old dad. And do I have a hyperactive wiener dog that gets so damn excited when I come home from a long day of being grilled at work? You know? What does the hypothetical hot dog me have to live for? So to answer your question, I cannot tell you. There's just not enough information. This is one of those goddamn Zen questions, like if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? Oh, goodness. Alright, and I was checking, Epping has 2 more questions, just in case anyone else was wondering. And this one's a pretty good one. What is the worst game you have ever played? Well, you're in luck, I have it right here today. This is Bubsy 3D for the PlayStation 1. You'll notice it has all the Blockbuster stuff on it. It even says this property of Blockbuster. You know why? Because they sold this game to me. That should be a warning sign, a red flag right there. Whenever a rental place is selling a game, it's because they cannot make money by renting it. There's nothing redeeming about this game. It's a 3D platformer, in case you're wondering, and the camera controls are just absolutely terrible. Bubsy's real thing, if you haven't played the Super Nintendo releases of the game, like Bubsy and Bubsy 2, is he's a bobcat and he can glide. Well, when you're gliding in the 3D platformer, the worst thing you can do is put the camera right above the character because you can't see what the shit you're landing on because he takes up the whole screen. Also, this game, it's not pretty to look at. I can't remember if this is a launch title or what, but it looks like garbage. Goddamn garbage. And the sounds, the music, must have not been redeeming because they didn't stick in my mind, or maybe I just didn't play it that long. But here it is. I still own the goddamn thing. I bought it because that's the only way I could play it. I didn't know it was so terrible before then. And if I had a runner-up for that, it'd probably be Spider-Man 2 for the Nintendo DS, because it has a similar problem where the Spider-Man takes up a quarter of the goddamn screen. You can't do that on a platformer and expect people to avoid getting shot, you know. Spider-Man's good, but his spider sense doesn't extend that far, at least in that game. Alright, and Epping Controller's final question, finally, is, why are you such an all-around cool dude? Well, I can't exactly say why I'm a cool dude, because I don't understand it much myself, but here are 3 of the things I live by, Epping. I always try to be genuine, I always try to be modest, and I always try to improve myself whenever I can. Now, when I say be genuine, I mean that I'm first and foremost honest. I do not bullshit, and I do not like bullshit. And it also means that I don't pander, at least in my Let's Plays. Like I told you before, I do this hobby completely for fun. And whenever you watch Lethal, you'll see the genuine article, folks. Even when I roleplay as Corporal Kane, Corporal Kane had a lot of lethal in him. And the only reason I do this is to make, well, I'm trying to make quality content. I don't know if I succeed all the time, but that's what I'm trying to do. I try to be genuine in every way. Try to be honest, try to be me. Now, as far as being modest is concerned, that may be sort of a weird thing to hear from me, because sometimes I do come across as full of shit, but I do try to see my weaknesses and see other people's strengths, because that's the only way you can truly improve yourself, folks. If you don't see weaknesses, you can't see flaws, you cannot get rid of those flaws and weaknesses. If you can't learn from other people's strengths, you simply can't learn from their strengths if you can't see them. And I try to do that. I try to be humble. I try to treat people with respect. One thing I've learned as a professional, folks, people have different skill sets. For instance, recently I'm working on a project that was worked on by a physics PhD. And then, like you may have heard before, I am a software engineer. Well, I'm sure that physics PhD is very intelligent, but he is no goddamn programmer. I still respect him. But I see his weaknesses and I know his strengths. His strength is in physics. And I wish he would have known what his weaknesses were, because goddamn it, this project is a pain in my ass. Alright, enough horseshit. The next portion of this was always strive to be better, and that extends in all ways. I mean, it can be physically. I exercise a whole bunch 5 times a week. I do legs, arms, torso, all that stuff. It can be mentally. You can teach yourself new things. I try to teach myself new languages, even though my Japanese is terrible. My German's failing, even though I learned in high school. You can try to learn new technologies, for instance. One of my goals this year is actually become proficient in a 3D modeling software. And I'm using Blender, and there's also this website called CG Cookie, which is actually pretty affordable when you think of it. I think it's either $10 a month or $100 a year. I think you can actually go either way on it. It's pretty cheap though. So that's one of the things I'm trying to do. Actually, all my New Year's resolutions this year were about improving myself. I was going to make 10 new series, which I'm not sure where I'm at on that. I was going to curl 80 pounds. I'm currently at 65. And we're halfway there, so I better get my ass in gear. And of course the 3D modeling. So there you go. That's the most definitive answer I can give you, effing, on why I'm such an all-around cool guy. Try to be genuine, be modest, and always strive to get better. Alright, and finally we get a question from someone who's not effing controller. Not that I don't appreciate your questions, my friend. Our next question comes from Hakapoko12345. Do you watch Bernanke? Because you sound alike and you're both awesome. I can only assume you mean Chairman of the Federal Reserve Ben Bernanke? I don't see any similarities. I don't watch him that often though, so I don't know what to tell you. And then he adds, oh, I meant Jeff Major. My phone is being retarded. And that guy I do watch. He is, I would count him among one of my inspirations for this hobby, to be honest, folks. There's not too many people that I count as inspirations. The first and foremost would be Spoony, because he's where I initially learned about SWAP 4, even though he sucks at video games, or at least at SWAP 4. Bless his heart. But Jeff is definitely who I would count among one of my core influences, because he initially, before he was on TGS anyway, plays games first and foremost to have fun. I'm pretty sure he still does it for fun, but he does make money from the hobby now, so I don't know exactly what motivates him nowadays. But yeah, he's great. I watched so many of his damn series. I've even seen his Max Payne series, which is not available anymore. I think he had to take it down because Rockstar probably gave him shit. That sounds about right? They're such asses. It probably has music or something in there. Maybe they don't want lords and ladies to get out there. They have it copyrighted. I've also watched the entirety of his Rome Total War Let's Play, which is probably, I would say it's one of his better works. If you want to see the best stuff by Jeff Major, go watch that. Also his Silent Storm Let's Play, the original and the expansion Silent Storm Sentinels, is fantastic. Alright. Let me get a drink real quick, folks. I learned from last time. On the root beer's just plain water today. Our next question comes from Blue Moo 666. He asks, where did you get your shirt? Specifically this one, because this is the one I wore in the questions stage of this. Well, this one I got from the Kohl's department store. The one from the answers video was sent from the same place. This is a Van, I think it's Van Housen is how it's pronounced. And the one from the other one was actually an Arrow shirt, which I actually prefer because it fits so well. This one's pretty good too, it just doesn't, it's too fat. I need one that's a little skinnier, even though this is a medium. Alright, our next question comes from Bromana1. What is your setup for recording, your mic, recording software for voice and video, etc.? Well, this is going to be a long answer. As you can see over here, this is my Blue Yeti. This is not the professional edition. This is the first one. It even has the blue the blue pop filter, the one that specifically is for this mic. You don't need anything this fancy. I was picking up some headphones at Guitar Center and I saw them. Well, you know what? I'll pick it up. Let's see. And as far as my recording software, I use Fraps, Camtasia Studio, and I also have a few new things that well, let me show you one of the old ones. This is my Hoppage HD PVR. It's a piece of garbage, but it does work with goddamn everything except for my Windows machine, because of course I don't have the disk for it anymore, and well, those sons of bitches won't put the software on their website for whatever reason. I don't understand why, but I can still use the sucker on Linux, because all you have to do is go, what was it, cat dev video 0, and then you have a video file. It's that easy. Alright, also have a few other things I've used with this. I have my Behringer Xenix 502. This is a hardware mixer, just a 2-channel one. It runs you about $20, so it's pretty cheap. Alright, I have my other microphone. This is the one I used on Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, and also Galarian's Ash for the PlayStation 2. This is a Shure PG58. Let's see, what else can I show you guys? These are my headphones. These are also another Shure product. These are SRH 570 DJs. These are the ones I got from Guitar Center, actually. They're fantastic. I've always been using shitty headphones, and you know what? I just got tired of them, and I decided I'd get these fancy things, and these were definitely worth the money. They're a bit expensive. I can't remember if they were $130 or maybe even $150, but they're good headphones. I expect them to last me the next 10 years, and they better for that price. Let's see what else we got down here. I actually got these just recently. This is a Blackmagic Intensity Pro, or at least the box for it. It is a PCI Express hardware encoder, and it's not as user-friendly as I'd like to say, Blackmagic design. I know you're not watching this, but I will address you specifically. You could do a better job. I mean, even this piece of garbage right here doesn't need much help to record. I don't need to enter frame rates into the damn thing. It figures it out automatically. This thing you have to tell it that is 59.94 frames per second. Otherwise you won't see jack shit. I do not recommend getting this. I'm sad to say. I'd like to say that you should get this because it does work on Windows, Mac, and Linux if you're a multi-platform user. But it's just not user-friendly at all. It's not good. Now, I also got another capture card recently, and some of you will be familiar with this one, or at least the box for this one. This is the box for the AverMedia, Live Gamer HD. This is the one that Revocaine uses. And it's pretty good. Actually, the complaints I had with the Intensity Pro, not with this one. It doesn't care about frame rate. It'll just do it. I mean, it's a little more magical in some ways, like if I play a game with one resolution, sometimes it gets stuck in that and you have to like stop it and restart, but it's not that big a deal. I mean, if you're streaming, it's a big deal because you have to, close off the stream, start back up, but it's less trouble than the Blackmagic Intensity. It's a pretty good piece of kit. It even comes with its own button. I'm not sure if you guys can see the button. If it was lit up, you could probably see it a little better. So you can actually start up with that button. You don't have to worry about accidentally stopping your recording because you hit your recording hotkey, which is fantastic actually, because I know a lot of people have done that. Because it's usually like F12 or something, and they try to use F12 for something else. I don't know, it's nice. It's nice. Let's see, what else do I use? Well, I actually don't have it in this room, and I don't feel like moving the camera, but I also use FFmpeg to encode. FFmpeg, of course, is not exactly user-friendly, considering that it is a command line utility that you can use on Windows, Mac, and Linux. Linux is what I use it with. I actually I have it scripted with Python and everything because what Fraps does is it breaks up your video files into I think 2 gig segments. So what I do is I have my Python start up a whole bunch of FFmpgs with each of those segments. I encode it into WM. What the hell is the name of that codec thing? It's WM. It's actually Vorbis Audio and WP8 Video. It may be WP9 Video here in a while, but that's what it currently is. And then with the Matroscal container, I can just put those all together. I know this is just fucking Greek to a lot of you folks, but it may mean something to, I think it was Hakapogo? Or no, it wasn't Hakapogo, it was Broman. That's right. Do I have anything else on here? Oh yeah. I also should tell you the streaming software I use. If you haven't heard, I use Open Broadcast software, which is a little different. A lot of people use XSplit. I've also used FFsplit, which is fine too, but Open Broadcast software is fantastic. It is so much more stable than XSplit, folks. I definitely recommend checking out if you stream video games to the internet or use XSplit for anything else right now, because it does everything that XSplit does, except for free. And also, it's open source. And also, they're gonna build it for Mac, Linux, and probably Android and everything else they can, because it's all open source. Alright. God damn it, Lethal, stop pressing buttons. Time to get on to the next question. This one's a doozy, so I better take a drink of water. Especially since Bro Man's question was such a doozy. Our next question comes from Paul Wooden, who asks, do you think it's possible to convince Jeff Major, Grimmeth, and Revocaine to play Left 4 Dead with you and record it? Oh, and let me record it, I assume. Well, it's possible in the same way that I could become president. Which, it's possible, remotely, but I really have to get my ass in gear and have to give a shit. But honestly, as far as Left 4 Dead's concerned, I don't have a lot of motivation to play that game myself. So, I mean, that's the first and foremost thing. I don't want to play the game. If I don't want to play the game, I won't have fun. And that's, like I was explaining before, that's why I play video games for the internet. Or not for the internet, too. But assuming I did, let's have a hypothetical thought experiment here, folks. Assuming I did want to play Left 4 Dead, how possible would it be? Let's go through each of the elements of this, the elements being the people involved who are not me. The first one would be Rev. I'm pretty sure I could get Rev on board. And the reasons are because he already wants to play stuff with me. We're already going to do Splinter Cell, Double Agent, we're already going to do Conviction. I'm sure if I came to him today and said, I want to play Left 4 Dead, I'm sure he probably would be down for it. He also likes to play zombie games, and I don't think he's done a series of Left 4 Dead yet, so there you go. He'd probably be on board. Now, the next one would be Grimmeth. Now, Grimmeth has actually already done 2 co-op playthroughs. He's done one for the original Left 4 Dead, and he's done one for the second release in the series. I think one was with Griffin God. I cannot remember who the second one was with. But either way, he's already played the game, so he may not want to play it again. I wouldn't blame him. Like I said, I had no motivation to play the game myself. But would he play it? I can see Grimmeth playing this game. And if he didn't, I could, give him some money with his rewarding the rewarders thing, and I'm sure he'd be on board. Now, the hard part would be Jeff. Because we don't have a deep connection. Like I think I may have explained before, I'm not really associated with Jeff as much as some of you might think. I like the guy. I've talked to him a few times, but we don't have a lot of rapport. If it was going to happen, I really have to... I'm sure he'd like to play the games with Rev and with Grimmeth. With me, I'm not so sure. I don't see if he'd have much motivation to play the game with me. Or at all, for that matter. So... I hope that gives you an appropriate answer for your question there, Paul. I think that was your name. Yep. I hope that gives you a definitive answer for your question. It could happen. It's just there's not a lot of motivation for me, and those guys, I'm not sure if there's a lot of motivation from them either. And I don't really want to push them into anything. I try to be polite that way. Alright, our next question comes from My Cyber Mutt. Not My Cyber Mutt, that's actually his name, My Cyber Mutt. Have you ever smashed a stapler? Nope. Not as far as I know there, My Cyber Mutt. I have smashed plenty of mice, but they're just so damn smashable and so tossable. And they're usually in my hand anyway when I'm pissed off. So I don't smash staplers, I smash these little bastards right here. They're also not that tough. Anywho, our next question comes from OFP Veteran 73. Do you think you'll ever do another series like I Am Corporal Kane? If so, which game or games do you think you would do it for? I've answered this question before, of course. The hints again were a game by id Software and a game with a supremely submersive, not submersive, that's different. It's not a submarine game, with a supremely immersive atmosphere. And both of these games are first-person shooters. Alright, our next question comes from Motor Lab. I'm guessing it's like mother love in German? But anyway, his question is simply, game show hoster? Have I been one? No. Would I like to be one? I would like to host Whose Line Is It Anyway? Because I think that'd be a hell of a lot of fun to work with those sons of bitches. Ryan Stiles, Colin Mockery, Greg Proops, Wayne Brady. Pretty much everyone who's on that show is fantastic, and you know, my style is very improv-esque. I like to think of it that way. So maybe I can learn something from those guys. Become better. Alright, and our next question comes from longtime viewer Laxtodes. When you did takes of the Quake 4, when you did Quakes for Quake 4 during the strugification scene, did you worry about the neighbors? Or did you worry the neighbors? Well, I'll answer both questions. Did I worry about the neighbors? No! This is art. I don't care about them, damn it. Did I worry them? I have no goddamn idea. They may have been huddled down there, wondering what the fuck was going on, waiting for the lights to start flashing outside, but if they did, I have no idea. Because like I said before, I don't care. This is art. Okay, Laxtodes also asks, would you be opposed to another Unreal Tournament or other multiplayer free-for-all with a greater audience? You could resurrect a few other classics like Battlefield 1942. I wouldn't be opposed, I just have to find the gumption there, Lack. I haven't had a lot of time recently or energy for regular things, so for doing something like setting up a server and getting it all organized, I just need a little more energy, my friend, but it'll probably happen again. I actually planned on the Unreal Saturday to be a yearly thing, but when April came around, I just did not have the energy. I don't know where it went. I have sort of like a cycle of productivity, and I'm sure I'll be super productive soon. I'm actually getting out of my rut as we speak. I just, we'll see. Alright. My nose is actually fucking with me, folks. 1 second. Alright. Now I can breathe. I have really terrible sinuses. I actually have like bad allergies and asthma, if you can believe it. It's not as bad as it was when I was a kid, but it still exists. Not that it affects my sinuses so much, it's more my lungs. Alright, anyway. Let me take another drink before I get started on this one, because this is a fairly long question. Or it'll be a fairly long answer, anyway. This one's also from Laxtodes. He asks, any hopes for LPs or streams with some rather old RPGs like Fallout 1, 2, Star Control, Anachronox, or maybe another strange adventure game like Underneath a Steel Sky, Under a Killing Moon, or perhaps a LucasArts title. Well, Fallout 1 and 2 are definitely on the table there, Lax. Currently I'm watching, I watched Grimace Fallout 1 playthrough. I'm watching him and Plum play Fallout 2. And actually, the funny thing is Grimace started a unarmed Fallout 2 run-through, which is very helpful, Grimace. I know you're watching this. So those are definitely on the table. I would make a different build from Grimace because his is a very low luck build. If I was going to do a playthrough of Fallout 1 or 2, I would have a high luck, high crit build because high crits just are, well, it's Skull Punch's style. I'd like Skull Punch to be sort of like the Dalai Lama. You know how he's supposedly reincarnated every time he dies? I would like to think that Skull Punch was actually born from the bomb, an entity without a single life, and he's born in a different body to punish humanity for killing people, for setting off the bombs, essentially. Give them what am I trying to say? Knock some sense into them collectively as a species. That's what he is. Now, as far as, oh man, this is really getting to me. I'm really getting passionate, so it's really killing my throat. I'm also talking like this a lot, and that actually does it too. As far as Star Control 2, there's nothing I can do for that game. Grimace has a perfect playthrough of Star Control 2, the Urquan Masters. I encourage everyone out there to go watch it. It is complete, it is entertaining, it is fantastic. It is lethal approved. Now, as far as Anachronox, I played the good old game version recently because it's actually funny. When I was reading initially through this question a month ago, probably, I wonder how much that game is on good old games. And I go on there, oh, you own it. I'm all, oh, yeah. I should probably give that thing a try. And it's interesting. It's sort of like, it's a weird game. It's a weird game to say the least. It's 3D. It seems to be like a JRPG, except of course it's not Japanese. It also seems like it may have point-and-click elements as well. It's sort of weird that way. Now, as far as doing that, I don't know, because it crashed. The Good Games version crashed on my machine. I'd have to put a little more work into that, and I'd have to play it a little bit more, but that might be on the menu, no promises. Now, as far as another strange adventure game, you can always count on those, Lack. Just as long as they're not Superhero League of Hoboken. I will eventually get my ass in gear and get that one completed. I promise you that. I have not forgotten about it. That one just takes a lot of effort compared to a lot of the series I do. Or I should have done it in my voice, but of course, I'm dying here. But actually, when you mentioned Under a Killing Moon, I was all, what the hell is that? So I looked it up, and there's a whole series called the Tex Murphy series, which has sort of a, I can't remember now if it was futuristic post-apocalyptic. I think that's what it is. And I can't remember if it's serious or not. I think it's sort of semi-serious. It's, well, Tex Murphy, I think, is supposed to be a hard-boiled detective, but it's sort of like a parody on those, maybe? Possibly. And they sound pretty cool. I started to play through the first game, and it's one of those games that you have to read through the manual to understand what the fuck you were doing. But that may be on the table, assuming I can figure out how to play the first Tex Murphy game, which I can't remember what the hell it's called right now, and I do not have it in my notes. And of course, I like point-and-click adventure games. I've only played one as a child, which was, of course, the Orion Conspiracy. I have not played any other ones. So I'm very open to playing those games. They're very easy to commentate, at least as far as I'm concerned. Not so much Superhero League of Hoboken, but that is a different animal. That is not strictly a point-and-click adventure. That is an asshole. Alright. Okay, I think that's a definitive enough answer for you, Lack, I hope. Alright, and we have one more question from Lack. He asks, have you ever played any tabletop RPGs? Your LPs showcase the right knack to get into character and play it well. I think you'd be a welcome addition to any tabletop RPG gaming group that I've ever seen. Well, to be honest, Lack, I have never, ever played a tabletop RPG. The closest thing I've done is actually the Mega Mech stuff that I did with Grimmeth and a few other people of the Voltron Army. And that one doesn't really count. I mean, it's a tabletop game, and it has stats, but it's not really in character, you know. I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. I've never played Vampire the Masquerade, even though not too far off. I actually thought about playing on Grimmeth's Vampire the Masquerade session. It's only because he's doing it on Saturdays, and that's sort of when I do things. Like record, of all things. And you know, also non-video game things. So to answer your question, no, I haven't played any of these tabletop RPGs, Lack. It's something you really have to be grandfathered in, and I really didn't have... Well, I'm sure there's some people that just pick it up out of nowhere, but I'm not one of them. And I also didn't have anyone to introduce me to the concept of tabletop gaming. Alright, and our next question comes from JBlackG19. I'm guessing for you Glock 19, right? I should have had my Glock 17 in here. Oh well. It's just in the other room and I don't feel like getting up. If I remember correctly, he asks, you are a systems engineer. If so, do you use a fuzzer to check for vulnerabilities in your code? If so, what type of fuzzer? Sully, Peach, etc. No, I don't use fuzzers that often there, J Black, because, well, first of all, I'm not a systems engineer, I'm a software engineer. There is a small distinction between both. And also because I primarily work on the Ruby on Rails platform, using a fuzzer is almost overkill because there's only so many problems you can have with an up-to-date Ruby on Rails application. You can worry about like SQL injections, for instance, but Ruby on Rails has you covered on that, unless you're fucking retarded. Unless you go out of your way to execute SQL statements, like raw, you'll not have a problem. If you're using like the new Arrow ORM system, you will not have a problem because it escapes everything. It quotes all the things that could be used for injection. Not a big problem. The other problem would be, of course, cross-site scripting. Rails has you covered there too. I mean, they have the H helper, which is or the filter helper, whatever it is, and you can just put your untrusted data into that, and it'll get rid of anything that could be a script tag, essentially, or anything else nefarious. And the other thing you have to worry about is cross-site request forgery, which Rails has you set on there too. I mean, by default in Rails 3, we have tokens in all of our regular forms. It's not really hard to set up at all. So I don't really use fuzzers. I think they're neat. I really haven't used them too extensively before. The Sully one looks cool, especially since it's written in Python. Python, if I haven't mentioned before, is my favorite language because it's so damn easy and it's so readable compared to stuff like Java, which it's readable. It's just it has such a shit ton of boilerplate that it's exhausting. Ruby is fine too, but it's just black fucking magic sometimes. And whenever you have a bug, then you're scratching your head and go, why the fuck won't this work? I'm so pissed off with you, Ruby. It's just like everything else. Oh, I'm getting off track though. Maybe someday I will use a fuzzer, but not right now. Alright, and our next question comes from Rear Lawful. He asks, who's your favorite wrestler? Well, I only had a brief phase in my life of being interested in professional wrestling, and that would be during the start of high school. I don't really have a favorite, I would say, but if I did have to say anyone, I would say... I forgot who the fuck I was going to say. I was going to say Macho Man Randy Savage, because oh yeah, just all the crazy shit he says, like, I am the 1,000,000%, that's higher than 100%, or that's greater than 100%, whatever he says, and like, I'm funky like a monkey, and space is the place. He's just a crazy motherfucker. It's hard not to like him. Alright, and our next question comes from Mostafa007. He asks, hey Mr. Lethal, you look far from what I had in mind. I was thinking you were a bit fat. I'm thinking he means before he saw me, I hope. Otherwise I'll have to train harder. Anyway, he says, but my question is, can you please play Hitman Blood Bunny? And thank you for your time, and please tell me if you read this. I have read this. I can assure you that I have indeed read this. Will I play Hitman Blood Money? It's possible. I've seen many other people play that game, so initially I didn't have much motivation to do so, but after I get done with Splinter Cell, I'm going to be looking for another stealth game, I'm sure, and you know, Hitman is on the menu. I've had other people actually say that they'd be interested in a Hitman playthrough of at least Blood Money anyway. So, I mean, it's possible. No promises, though. I'm mercurial and... what's the other word I'm looking for? Fickle. So I have a habit of changing my mind at the last minute. Sometimes I just can't find any fucks to give, but I will keep it in mind at the very least, okay? I do actually own all the Hitman games also, even though I haven't put a lot of time on them. Thanks to Steve, and also my buddy Zephy, who got me a copy of Hitman Absolution recently with his new video card. You son of a bitch. He has some, I think he has a 7990? I mean, mine's not too bad. I have a, it was an EVGA NVIDIA GTX 680. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Our next question comes from Cody Barnes. Your voice sounds like heaven, and your facial expressions are awesome. Why are you so damn awesome? I learned it from watching you. Alright, our next question comes from Sean Gallarden. He asks, I believe you said you live in Colorado. If so, what is your favorite part? Well, Colorado is pretty good overall, my friend. Except for Colorado Springs, just because almost everyone down there is fucking insane. But if I had to give you an answer, I'd probably say one of the mountain towns. I mean, they're all fantastic up there. St. Mary's Glacier I like a lot. Estes Park is fantastic. Georgetown is beautiful. It's all beautiful up there. And it's funny because I say all these mountain towns, and you know, I'm from Colorado, you'd assume I'm a skier. The only thing I'm good at skiing is getting up, folks. Alright, and our next question comes from ostentatiousness. He asks, Lethal, are there any games you have your eyes on at the moment that you might like coming up, or old favorites? Or old classics, I mean. Well, as far as ones that are coming out soon, Takedown, I'm really looking forward to. It markets itself as the spiritual successor to SWAT and Rainbow Six, so you can probably understand why I'm looking forward to it, especially since the devs have expressed an interest in making like non-lethal weapons. I'm not sure if they have a scoring system. This game is going to be both single player and multiplayer, although it's going to play differently. I think there is a versus mode and also there should be something like a SWAT mode essentially. I'm also I can't wait for next month because that's when Splinter Cell Blacklist comes out, and that game is built specifically with ghosting in mind. If you didn't like Conviction, you may like Blacklist because, well, Conviction you could not ghost. It was not possible. You had to kill people. And that kind of pissed people off because, you know, a stealth game where you have to kill people, this doesn't feel the same. I mean, if you're used to Hitman, well, Hitman, bad example, you have to kill people, but usually you only kill one person in that, one specific target, or maybe a couple specific targets. Or Thief, or the old Splinter Cells, you don't really go and kill everyone, you know? And that really pissed off a lot of people with Conviction. Blacklist, on the other hand, has a scoring system. And the scoring system, from what I've seen in the videos and the media, tells me that ghosting is rewarded, which means they are designing the game to be ghosted. It's going to be fantastic. And another game that is coming out, I think today's the 22nd? Yeah, it's Monday the 22nd, up till July today. And this game comes out in 3 days. It is Shadowrun Returns, which is a game that's built on an old tabletop RPG, and of course, it's not exactly built on the Genesis and Super Nintendo versions, although those have the same lore, I guess, kind of. The only thing I know about the game is from Grim's playthrough of the Genesis version, and I'm really interested to get into a futuristic techno-punk world where dwarves and elves and orcs still live. And there's things called deckers and samurais and all this other bullshit. It looks pretty cool. It also has sort of a Fallout gameplay type to it, one of the old Fallouts, at least from what I can tell. It seems to have AP and all that good stuff. When it comes out, you can probably expect a stream after we get done with Fallout 3. We'll probably go right in the Shadowrun Returns. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Any other games I'm looking forward to? I can't think of any old ones. I am looking forward to getting into the Tex Avery series. Or Tex Avery is completely different from Tex Murphy, Lethal. Tex Murphy does not make cartoons. I'm looking forward to getting to the Tex Murphy series. Because I do kind of like that hard-boiled detective thing, you know, they're all badass. They're so hard-boiled. At least if they're Japanese. Alright. And this next question is going to be a doozy too, especially since it requires props. Let's get that out of the way. Let's take a drink. Alright, our next question comes from Scott Meester. I assume it's Meester because the I comes before the E, even though I know I've called you Scott Meister before in the Twitch chat. Scott Meester 999 asks, what is your favorite book, and have you read any decent books lately? Alright, let's put this down here. My favorite book, or books, you can't really judge this one by a single book. If it was a single book, it'd be The Fall of Hyperion, but the series is the Hyperion Cantos, which is a 4-book series by Colorado author Dan Simmons. World famous Colorado author Dan Simmons. It's a book set in the future. Humans have colonized so many worlds. And one of those worlds is actually the world of Hyperion. This book really highlights what Dan is really skilled at. He's skilled at a lot of things. The first one that I appreciate in all of his works is he doesn't bullshit. A lot of authors have a lot of fluff to their work, you know what I mean? You read any Tom Clancy or any was for the next author, R.A. Salvatore. He has tons of horse shit. Tom Clancy has tons of horse shit too. He's not a great author either. I mean, it's interesting, but he's not that great. Dan, on the other hand, no bullshit. It's all meat in here, no fluff. He's also really good at making very large, complex plots and tying them all together, which is highlighted in this book and also his other series, which I don't have in here with me. It's Ilium. I actually could get that real quick. Yeah, fuck it. Ilium's also a great series, folks. If you want a good piece of reading, Ilium and Olympos by Dan Simmons are also fantastic. But we have a huge setting, a huge plot that spirals together. And also a lot of characters that are complex, yet still retain dynamicism. I can't fucking say it. Dynamicism? I think that's close enough. But anyway, I'm trying to think. It also has a lot of interesting concepts. The core one being the Farcasters. Farcasters in this book are sort of like Stargates, but they're always open. One of the coolest concepts with these was the Farcaster house. You would have a house in which every room was on a different world. And that is just fucking amazing. You can have your office on Tau Ceti 2, you can have your basement in the Hives, and you can have your toilet on an ocean, on a single tiny island on an ocean world if you want. I can't remember what the name of the water world on this one was. They have a world that is mostly water, but I can't remember what the fuck its name was, which I should. They also have a river that is non-ending. It is a looping river. It is called the Tethys. And it runs across all these worlds through these Farcasters. And it is fantastic. It actually exists through all 4 books. Through Hyperion, full of Hyperion, and then there's also, was it Rise of Endymion and Endymion? I don't know if I'm pronouncing those right, but that's what they're called. And it also has a thing called the Technocore, which is a huge player, a huge element of the book. The Technocore is a sort of like a huge internet, or it's something that exists in a huge internet that extends across all of these worlds through the Farcasters. So you have internets on each of these worlds connected, and then within this huge, fantastic network is the Technocore, which is a collection of super developed AI. They are so intelligent that they can effectively predict the future a great percentage of the time. The human government actually relies on these AIs to make decisions. And within all of this bullshit, with the Technocore and everything, we have, if I remember correctly, 7 pilgrims that go to the world of Hyperion, all for their own different reasons. The first book actually gives you the backstory of all those pilgrims and why they're going to Hyperion, why they're going to a place known as the Time Tombs, which, as silly as that sounds, they're actually pretty goddamn cool. And within all this, we have a creature known as the Shrike, which is a 4-armed metallic menace whose intentions are unknown, but it seems to relish in the pain of humans. I can't really do this book justice by explaining to you what it is. Only what the elements are. I hope that I've at least inspired some interest with this small explanation of some of the core concepts of it. You have to read it for yourself, folks. I definitely suggest that you try my favorite book and books of all time, The Fall of Hyperion and the rest of them. I actually give people these books. Whenever I go to the bookstore, I actually buy a few copies. I'd show you Fall of Hyperion now, but I do not currently have a copy of it, because I gave my last copy away. I have a couple of the first books, and I buy each of you who are watching one of these. Books are not an expensive gift, folks. $8 for a gift, not a bad book. Not a bad book at all. Now, let me get a drink after that, because this one's also going to take a few words to give you a complete answer. As far as any decent books I've read recently, well, I'm going to have to bring Dan Simmons back into the equation, because I've recently been reading through one of his out-of-print works, which is Hard Case. This is a book about a hard-boiled detective by the name of Joe Kurtz. And he is just, to put it simply, Joe Kurtz is a tiny son of a bitch. He's an ex-con. He cannot be a PI anymore because, well, I don't want to ruin it. He's just too hard-boiled, folks. I'd actually like to do a reading of this book for you folks, since it's unlikely that you'll be able to get a copy to read, either from your bookstore or your local library. I actually got my copies from the Tattered Cover in downtown Denver. It's a bookstore down there. It sells a lot of used books. But I'd actually like to do a reading for you of this whole series. I actually have all of them right here. I recently got done with Hard Freeze, which is the second book. Hard Case is the first book. And I'm currently halfway through Hard as Nails. Such silly titles, but they're fantastic books. I need to get in contact with Dan. He is very communicative. He actually has a forum right now. It's an old ass, I think it's a UBB forum of all things. Some of you may actually know what UBB is, but anyway, I want to get in contact with him because that'd be a good opportunity for me to exercise my ability to read. It's one of my weak points as a commentator, as many of you know already, and I could expose you to an out-of-print book that you would likely enjoy, I think, anyway. If you enjoy my shit, you'd probably like Kurt's. He is, like I said, a son of a bitch. Alright. Now for the next question. This one comes from Distant BT. He asks, is this a dumb question? Some people tell you that there are no stupid questions, folks. Those people are unquestionably, breathtakingly naive, as Distant BT has just shown us. And, let's see, our next question comes from Raz Hanam. I think that's how I pronounce your name, my friend. This one came at the last minute, actually past the deadline, but that's alright. I'll let it slide this time. Have you heard of Dead State? It's an upcoming zombie survival game. From what I've seen and read about it, it has quite a few similarities to Fort Zombie, and I quite enjoyed your playthrough of that. Except the combat in this game is turn-based. It's sort of like a mix of Fort Zombie and Silent Storm. Well, I looked at it, it's still in the early development stages, but it does look pretty cool. I mean, I do enjoy that sort of gameplay, you know, Fallout, Silent Storm. I mean, if it's tactical, like Silent Storm, where you can like aim at... Can you aim at their heads in that game? I don't think you can, actually, but there's a lot of management and stuff in that game. It's a very tactical game, and I do enjoy that. With zombies, I don't know how... You know, with zombies, it's sort of weird to have a tactical game like that unless they can fire guns back at you. Because, I mean, shooting things without guns, not much of an issue as long as you... I don't know. It's not that hard. I'd have to play the game yet. I'd have to play the game before I give you a definitive answer. Have I heard of it before you brought it up in your question? No. That was your question, though. Oh. Alright. And our last question also comes from Raz. He asks, I know you really like UT. What's your opinion on Quake? Particularly Quake 2. I think Quake's a fantastic game, especially Quake 4. That's the one I've actually put the most time on. With the older Quakes, I don't have as much experience, unfortunately. That was during a point where I was not really into PC gaming because I was mostly, well, wasn't I was going to say, at that time I wasn't really a Linux user, was I? I'm not exactly sure why I wasn't into Quake, to be honest. Either way, they're fine games. To be perfectly honest, I've never played Quake 2 all the way through, or Quake 1. I know that's gonna... Some of you are probably still flabbergasted right now. You're all, what? Lethal hasn't played all the way through Quake? That's amazing! I don't even know you anymore, Lethal. That's what you're saying. But I think they're fine games. It's just, I just haven't put a lot of time on them. And as far as in comparison to UT, they're a lot simpler. I mean, well, I guess Quake 2 is comparable like regular Unreal, because the weapons aren't terribly interesting in Unreal. In Unreal Tournament, they're really interesting, but as far as Quake and regular Unreal are concerned, they're mostly point and click. You usually aim and they go. That's how it goes. And I think Quake, it's just more precision-based. I like UT mostly because its weapons are more interesting. And the movement for that, for sure, at least in UT. Alright, and our last statement comes from Raz. And I think it's a good thought to close this whole thing off on. Let me take one last drink, folks. Bear with me. He says, keep doing what you're doing. It's great to see someone having a good time instead of trying to do it for fame. I'm glad to hear that, Raz. It makes all of the interaction I've had with you guys over the whole duration of this whole hobby has been fantastic. Like, my comment section is fantastic. I have a lot of thoughtful commenters, and I really pride myself on that. I've seen other comment sections which are just fucking terrible. Poor Jeff, for instance, he has some really stupid commenters. I'm not surprised that he doesn't give much thought to his comments. But mine, I can honestly say that mine are pretty smart. And I've enjoyed your company over this whole hobby, folks, and I hope that we can forge some new memories over the coming years as I continue. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you, not in the next LP, but in the next question answer segment, whenever that may happen. I hope you enjoy.